The Olympic season has officially begun. Skaters around the world are now unveiling their programs for the 2025-2026 season, fully aware that their performances over the next several months will determine whether they make it to the Olympics. But earning a spot on the team is only half the journey. Once they arrive, athletes must deliver their best when it matters most, hoping to secure their place in history. For many, the dream is simply to stand at the podium. Yet, for a select few, it's all about walking away with a gold medal. However, the Olympic stage is like no other. It is steeped in tradition, culture, and superstition. And in figure skating, two superstitions continually prove themselves to be true, time and time again.
I am the dreadful menace, the one whose will is done, the haunting chill upon your neck. I am the conundrum. I will summon armies of wind and rain and snow. I made the black cloud overhead, the ice like glass below. Not you nor any other can fathom what is nigh. I will tell you when to jump, and I'll dictate how high. The ones that came before you stood strong and tall and brave, but I stole those streams away. Those streams could not be saved. But now you stand before me, devoid of all dismay. Could it be, 'tis maybe, I'll let you have your day.
The Olympics favor the young and brave. It's often the newcomers bursting with fearless energy who capture their breakthrough moment at the Olympics. Whether it's the audacity of youth or the judges' openness to fresh faces, history shows that the Olympic gods seem to reward the naive, fresh, and new. And then the most famous superstition, the Olympic favorite curse. Within figure skating specifically, the last 3 cycles, the favorite to win it all has left with silver or nothing at all, especially for the women's. Crumbling under the pressure of a nation or the pressure they have put on themselves while on the biggest international stage, also external forces like corrupt judging or doping scandals, have tipped the scales away from the favorites every single time. And every year the breakdown of these girls seems more extreme. I almost fear what might come in 2026 if history were to repeat itself yet again. But there is something different about this Olympics, because unlike the last 3 cycles in 2026, there is no clear favorite for the women's discipline. Yeah, you heard me right. There is no Tutberidze trained girl who has been predicted to be the winner since they were 13 years old. Unlike years past, at this Olympics, the gold could very easily go to a non-Russian skater. The international Russian ban and the faltering Team Tutberidze seem to finally indicate a slow end to the Russian domination over the discipline. Bearing the question, if there is no favorite for gold, is the Olympic favorite curse finally over? I wouldn't bet on it, because as the months go on and these skaters start to compete, there will be a clear favorite or favorites. No matter what, there will always be a favorite for gold when going into the Olympics, which means that there will always be someone which the Olympic favorite curse can reach. So, who are these potential favorites? Who are the skaters which you should be rooting for and maybe even worrying for? Let's break it down. Skating. The 3 skating superpowers right now are Russia, Japan, and for the first time in a long time, the USA. These are the 3 countries who will by and large produce most of the winning skaters for each discipline. Russia has the most complicated situation and the smallest team, as their eligibility for the Olympics has been limited to what the ISU is calling individual neutral athletes. Athletes who have been thoroughly screened by the ISU, the International Skating Union, to not have ever publicly or privately have supported the war on Ukraine. This supposedly also applies to their coaching staff. Back in May, the ISU announced the small selection of individual neutral athletes who will be able to qualify for the Olympics. This does not mean they're immediately going, it just means that they can compete to qualify for the Olympics within the Russian national competition circuit. And each discipline only gets 1 spot and 1 alternate. For the ladies, they have Adelya Petrosian and Alina Gorbacheva. Adelya Petrosian is the single hope for Team Tutberidze to continue their Olympic champion streak. In the last 2 Olympics, the Olympic champion has been from the Team Tutberidze camp, trained by the notorious Petr Tutberidze. And most see Adelya as the favorite for that single spot. Some fans even see her as the favorite for gold due to her current dominance in Russia. However, the reality is that Adelya does not have the same dominance or experience as previous Tutberidze Olympic medalists. Even in Russia, the competition that Adelya has from her own peers is just not as steep. Therefore, her dominance is undercut by the fact that she has yet to prove herself in international and national stages at the same level as her predecessors. But there are still fans out there who see her as the obvious favorite for gold, which, if true, could be a curse in and of itself, since this time there is no other Eteri girl nor Russian skater that will be at the Olympics to take the gold if she, Adelya, were to mess up, as has happened for each Eteri girl in previous years who was the favorite to win it all. The second option for the women's in Russia is Alina Gorbacheva. If Alina were to be selected, it would, for me, mark the end of Team Tutberidze dominance over the Olympics. She would be the first non-Eteri skater to be sent since 2018, and it would mark in a way also the end of Russian dominance within the discipline. However, this is not to say that Alina would not have a chance at gold, because she would have a very clear chance, especially given how consistent she has skated last season. But she would be more of a dark horse in the competition, as her coach does not have the same political pull that Eteri has, nor does she have the experience and skating skills that the Japanese and some of the US skaters have. But remember, the Olympics do favor the young and naive, so who knows what destiny would lie ahead of Alina if she were to make it to Milan. I mean, we already had one Alina win the gold back in 2018. Moving on to USA's women's team. This Olympic cycle, the USA has 3 spots, which will allow us to showcase the recent boom within women's skating in the USA. Our top choices for these 3 spots are Alysa Liu, Amber Glenn, Isabeau Levito, and Sarah Everhart. Alysa Liu is the reigning world champion and has had an absolutely unbelievable performance last year, which culminated with the world title. Of course, her story coming into the Olympics is also Olympic level great, as she was the first American woman to land a quadruple jump in competition. And she also landed a triple axel in that same program. And those crazy skills also made her the youngest US champion in history at the age of 13. She then qualified for the 2022 Olympics, only to drop out after getting COVID, which then led her to announce her retirement. Yes, she retired at the age of 16, for her only to announce a comeback 2 years later and then win the World Championships. Like, keep in mind, she did all of this before the age of 20. Not only does she have the skills, but she also has an insane story and the ultimate charisma to become a bona fide star at the 2026 Olympics if she were to get on the team. As world champion right now, Alysa, to me, has basically secured a spot to the Olympics. However, her chances for Olympic gold, while high, are not 100% secure. This because the competition within the women's discipline is incredibly tight, with mostly mistakes by one being the only reason why another skater would succeed above them. This is the kind of peer-to-peer competition we usually see from the Russians. However, this Olympic cycle, it is the USA team whose biggest competition for the podium is their friend or teammate. One of those teammates is Amber Glenn, or as I call her, the People's Princess. She is by far the most experienced skater within the USA selection, and at 25 years old has had already an illustrious career. However, what makes Amber Glenn's story so great is that she's having her best moment now as a grown woman. We as an audience have seen her grow and master skating, and her secret weapon being the mastery of the triple axel. Amber is the only one of these US skaters for the women's to compete with an Ultra C element. These are the elements that figure skating fans call the hardest ones, Ultra C. And while the triple axel is her secret weapon, it can also be her biggest weakness if she does not land it within competition. Amber also has charisma in spades, and it exudes with every single performance. She has a connection to the crowd which is hard to replicate. Many fans also see her as a sure pick for one of these 3 spots, were she to make it to the Olympics. Then we move on to the young Isabeau Levito. Alongside Alysa Liu, Isabeau has shown herself to be one of the new standout talents for Team USA. You could even call her a fresh new face. In her short senior career, Isabeau has shown just how much she can shine when all of the components align, but her inconsistency with jumps has become her Achilles heel. She is definitely the favorite for that 3rd spot after Alysa and Amber Glenn, but if this season does not produce results, I would not be surprised if Team USA gives it to Sarah Everhart. That might be harsh to say, but I believe it to be true. However, Isabeau does have also an Olympic story that would go perfectly with this Olympics, because Her mom is from Milan. And if you don't know, the 2026 Winter Olympics are going to be held at Milano Cortina. Isabeau is half Italian, she speaks the language, and has already been doing promotional spots with NBC for the Olympics. A move which many see as a vote of confidence from US figure skating towards Isabeau being on the team. But only time will tell if Isabeau will assure us or give us reasons to doubt. For now, she remains a dark horse for the Olympic podium, but a sure bet for the team. However, remember that the Olympics often favor the new, young, and brave. Finally, we have Sarah Everhard. Sarah is often left out of the conversation from these three spots since she has not had as many podium appearances as the other three. However, last season, she did make it to bronze at the US Championships, so there is enough reason to believe that Sarah could very well be in the running for a spot in Team USA. Whether she gets to podium once she's there is a little bit more far-fetched, but not impossible, as the impossible often happens at the Olympics. Then there is the skating juggernaut of Japan. Japan undoubtedly, on average, creates the most amount of high-ranking skaters within the sport, and that is no exception for the ladies' field, where they have 3 spots available, just as much as the USA on their team. Their main talents include Mona Shiba, Wakaba Higuchi, and of course, Kaori Sakamoto. Wakaba Higuchi made it to the Olympics last cycle alongside her bestie, Kaori Sakamoto, and their unwavering support for each other was just so beautiful that I wish nothing more than for it to happen again. Wakaba has recently announced that this will be her last season and that her main goal for the 2025-2026 season is to qualify for the Olympics team before retiring. Wakaba has some of the most powerful jumps, but her inconsistency and injuries in the last couple of seasons have really taken her out of the running for the Olympic medals. While she most likely will qualify for a spot on the Japanese team, it is highly unlikely that she will medal at all. However, what I wish the most for Wakaba is not medals. It's just for her to complete her dream and make it to the Olympics alongside Kaori one last time. Then we have Mona Shiba. Mona Shiba is the dark horse of the Japanese ladies. She is a consistent skater who does well in competition, but does not have the same level of technical skills as her teammates. Mona Shiba is quite young, and many see her as the future of Japanese skating after Wakaba and Kaori retire. However, for me, what Mona Shiba needs most is an iconic signature program, which I am hoping she creates for this Olympic season. If Mona Shiba has a program that packages her perfectly by blending her beautiful skating skills and charisma, I think she can easily transition from dark horse to podium favorite. And last but not least, we have Kaori Sakamoto. She is an Olympic veteran, and at the last Olympics, amidst the Russian debacle and drama, Kaori remained calm, cool, and collected, and her performance earned an Olympic bronze medal. This makes her the only women's skater to come into this Olympics with a medal. Because of this, Kaori has already been branded the favorite to win, which, as we have discussed, can also be a curse, or perhaps it can propel her to heights of fame she has yet to experience. Kaori, besides being a ray of sunshine, is also like Amber Glenn, a hardened veteran who knows very well how to deal with pressure on a global stage. Don't forget, she already has been to Olympics once before. So if anyone can deal with the pressure of a nation and keep a years-long curse at bay, it would be Kaori Sakamoto, who currently, I do believe people see her as the favorite to win it all. Who I cannot bet she will be the gold medalist this time around, but I would put money on the fact that she will be on the podium at some place, whether it is first, second, or third, and she will walk away with a medal once again, which is exactly what I want for her because she has just announced that after this Olympics, she will be retiring, meaning that her and her best friend Wakaba will be retiring after this same Olympic cycle. It's just so beautiful, but so sad. Kaori right now is the closest thing we have to a clear favorite for gold, but competition right now is so tight that any misstep could cost her her medal, and this, as she has announced retirement, is her last chance at gold. Finally, we have an amalgamation of countries who boast one shining star to carry their national hope in figure skating. All the dark horses who are so close to the podium that just a couple of unfortunate events for other skaters could lead them to go home with a medal. First, we have Luna Hendricks from Belgium, who has cemented herself as the European Ice Queen. She won the European Championships back in 2024, but had to pull out of the 2025 Championships due to an ankle injury. These injuries worry me a lot, and it is because of these injuries that have plagued much of Luna's career. However, I know Luna has probably been taking the utmost care of her body in preparation for the Olympic season. So I expect Luna to be at the Olympics and probably place within the top 5 or top 7, maybe even higher if something else occurs. Other European ladies which you should have an eye on are the Ninas. Nina Petrokina from Estonia and Nina Pizzarone, also from Belgium. Nina Petrokina is our 2025 European champion, and she took the title after Luna's withdrawal. Many believed the title would be taken by Nina Pizzarone, the younger Belgian skater, but Nina Petrokina surprised us all with an astounding performance and won the championships. In second place at the European Championships was Anastasia Kubanova, a Russian skater who moved to represent Georgia in 2022. However, the Ninas are the skaters who are most likely to nip at the heels of Luna for that one top European spot, meaning to be the highest ranking European. There's not one spot for Europeans, there's different amount of spots for different countries. Because unlike USA and Japan, their respective countries of Estonia and Belgium will only have a single spot on the team for their top skater in the women's field. Estonia and Belgium specifically will have the chance to earn an additional second spot. Like, for example, if both Luna and Nina Pizzarone place high enough at the qualifying events, they could be both sent to represent Belgium, not just the top Belgian skater. One thing to note about Korea is that they have 2 spots available on their team for women in the single skaters field. And the top 2 pick in Korea skating right now are Chaeyoung Kim and Jia Shin. These are 2 young skaters who have made their mark in Korean skating. Jia Shin specifically has gained quite a fan following since being a junior in competitions. However, the chance that there will actually be a Korean skater on the podium at the Olympics is almost next to none. This is due to the high competition between all of the top skaters, which is amazing because historically in the last 3 Winter Olympics, the discipline has been dominated by Russian skaters, making it so the podium is usually 2 Russians and an odd man out from another country. But now there is truly a chance that every single step on that podium will raise a different flag, since Russia can only send 1 and every other country in the top 3 is so competitive, which allows for more coverage for the sport internationally. And again, the most watched event at every single Winter Olympics. This cannot be understated. This is a very popular event, and the more countries are on the podium, the larger the coverage, the more popular the sport internationally. And while the women's discipline is the tightest race it has ever been in years, the men's single event is just as unpredictable. For the men's discipline, there is an obvious favorite, and is the teenage sensation of Ilia Malinin from the USA. He is known as the quad god due to being the only person in the world able to land a quadruple axel, a jump that for decades skaters and scientists felt was physically impossible due to the extra half rotation which comes with an axel jump. Fun fact, this is also the reason why the triple axel is such a hard jump. Before Ilia, there was Nathan Chen, also from the USA, who is the current Olympic gold medalist from 2022, but won't be returning due to taking a step back from skating to focus on his studies. Ilia has taken the torch from Nathan Chen and has continued to be the single man dominating the sport due to his high technical ability. Nathan Chen was the first skater to land 5 different types of quadruple jumps in competition, a record which was then broken by Ilia Malinin when he landed 6. Let's see if he also breaks that Olympic record. However, when Nathan Chen came in to his first Olympics as one of the favorites to win at the 2018 Olympics alongside Yuzuru Hanyu, Nathan bombed, falling twice in the short program, which led him to a 5th place finish at his very first Olympics, just off the podium. This is history which could very well repeat itself for Ilia Malinin if he lets the pressure of his first Olympics get to him mentally. However, Ilia Malinin has been so consistent and seems to thrive off pressure so much that I seriously doubt this will occur to him. Ilia Malinin has become such a showman and a standout player at every competition that I believe this Olympic gold medal is almost destined for him, making it so there is a very real chance that if the stars align, there could be a male and female American skater as our gold medalist for 2026. But if Ilia is so destined for this gold and nothing phases him, then who is his true competition that could very easily trip up his destiny? Well, Ilia's main competition comes from France. Adam Chauhinfa is a French skater with just as much technical ability as Ilia, maybe even more performance and skating skills than Ilia. But where Ilia has dominated the mental side of skating, Adam still struggles. Adam Chauhinfa has continuously tripped up in skating skills that we know he's mastered, making him an inconsistent skater at competition and prone to injuries. If Adam Shelhenfa was a consistent skater, I truly believe that he would be tough competition for Ilia, but I genuinely don't know how he will handle the biggest pressure of all, which is the Olympics. Therefore, Ilia's true competition is arguably the best Japanese male figure skater at the moment, Yuma Kagiyama. Yuma Kagiyama has spiritually taken the torch from Yuzuru Hanyu and Shoma Uno, who were seen by the public as the previous top skaters in Japan. Like, the amount of times they shared the podium, all three of them, in the same order of Yuzuru, Shoma, then Yuma is astounding. Yuma is truly now seen as the best male skater because he so often came in third to the previous top two. There was a clear pecking order for the Japanese male skater, with Yuma being the obvious third. But now that both Yuzuru Hanyu and Shoma Uno have retired, many see this Olympics as Yuma Kagiyama's moment to shine. Which is a lot of pressure because, as we previously mentioned, Japan takes their figure skating very seriously. It is a very popular sport in the country, and half the reason why it became so popular is because the Japanese men have been dominating international competitions for over a decade, and Yuma now has to carry that legacy into the Olympics. Also, much like his teammate Kaori Sakamoto, Yuma is the only male skater coming into the Olympics already being a medaling Olympian, as he won silver at the last Olympics in 2022. Will Yuma be able to win gold this time, returning the crown back to Japan from the USA? There is a very big chance he will, but one thing he is for sure is that he is a favorite for gold alongside Ilia Malinin. Then we have the underdog, a skater that in the last couple of competitions has appeared seemingly out of nowhere and podiumed at almost every event. This is the Kazakh skater of Mikhail Shaidorov, who had one of his best seasons last year, getting silver at the World Championships above Yuma Kagiyama and winning the prestigious Four Continents competition, being the first skater from Kazakhstan to win an ISU championship title in 10 years. Mikhail is not experienced enough to qualify as a favorite, but the story of his come-up is primed to be a favorite for the Olympic gods, who love to boost new talent and obvious underdogs. Now, how Mikhail deals with this pressure of the Olympics versus how his competitors deal with the same pressure is, I believe, what will determine whether we see a Kazakh on the podium for the first time in 12 years. For the men's, there are a bunch of dark horses as well. There are, of course, the fan favorites, American Jason Derulo. American Jason Brown, and Korean Junhwa Cha, both known for their beautiful skating skills and having hordes of loyal fans follow them wherever they go. They are the definition of skating beautifully, leaning more into the artistic side of figure skating than the technical. And they're also Olympic veterans, both having gone to 2 previous Olympics, but no medals for either one. And then there is the other top male from Japan, Shun Sato, who has yet to go to an Olympics, but with Japan having 3 male spots, this will most likely be his first Olympics in 2026. He is an amazing talent, but has yet to cement his legacy into a specific style or program. Hopefully this Olympics awards him the opportunity to make a splash. And then there's Russia. Russia has floundered in the men's field over the last decade. Long gone are the days of their dominance back in the 90s. I would even go as far as to say that it is definitely their weakest discipline to date. However, this year, the 2 ISU selected quote-unquote individual neutral athletes have a good chance of getting on or near the podium. Russia, like the ladies' discipline, only has 1 male spot available, but 2 approved contenders for that spot, Petr Gummenik and Vladislav Dikidzhi. Petr Gummenik has been a constant in the men's podium in Russia over the last 5 years, but they have never had the chance to shine due to Mikhail Kolyada's dominating of the scene. But now that Kolyada has retired and their growth spurt is finally over, Petr has been a consistent skater, and I would argue possibly the top male skater in Russia. However, a new shining star has appeared in the form of young Vlad Dikidzhi, who broke the internet back in 2024 by landing a feat which only one single human has ever done, landing a quad axel. This used to be known as Ilia Malinin's feat to fame. However, Vlad's quad axel has been highly debated as it was done at practice and has been criticized for being pre-rotated, aka not clean. But Vlad has now become a staple in Russia's jumping competitions despite the arguments about his quad axel being real or not. He even won the Russian national championships for 2025, many believing he will be the pick for that one single spot, since he is deemed as the only figure skater who can compete with Ilia Malinin's high technical ability. but whether Vlad gets there and is able to land the fabled quad axel in competition is still up for debate. Moving on to ice dance. Ice dance is the most cinematic and romantic of all the disciplines, so it is one which I highly recommend showing to your friends during the Olympics if you're trying to get them into the sport. Most of the programs are based on a narrative and feel like a play or a small dramatic film. And in this dramatic discipline, the showdown for gold is between two teams. Chock and Bates from the USA, and Fear and Gibson from the UK. Many fans, including myself, see this Olympics as Madison Chock and Evan Bates' Olympics to win. Since the previously dominating teams have retired, it is time now to resurrect a new great rivalry. Someone needs to replace the tension that the Canadians Tessa and Scott and the French Paparazzi and Cizeron once had. So this time, we are gifted with another colony versus colonizer tension. But now, instead of Canada and France, it is US versus the UK. And the favorite of these two is undoubtedly Chock and Bates. This team has been nearly perfect for the past couple seasons, and in my eyes, they are simply bidding their time till they get that Olympic gold medal round their neck. They are 3-time Olympians and won a gold medal for the team event at the 2022 Olympics. I mean, they received those medals way later due to some Russian doping shenanigans, but they are team gold medalists nonetheless. However, they have yet to gain their medals for their individual events as ice dancers, making it in 4th place at the last Olympics, right off the podium. They have gone viral multiple times for their invented and avant-garde programs like the Snake and the Charmer, the Astronaut and the Alien, so I cannot wait to see what Chock and Bates will come up with for those Olympic seasons, which will not only make them walk away with a medal, but they will do it in the most dramatic art house way possible. Then there is the other component of this rivalry, the British, Lilah and Lewis Gibson. And while Chock and Bates are an IRL couple, bringing us their real-life romance and drama on the ice, Fear and Gibson are bringing us drama as well, but with camp concepts. They have done a Madonna program, a Lion King program, a 70s funk program, and even a Beyonce-themed program. They're just here to have a good time. Fear and Gibson are known for bringing the party and the dance moves to their programs. That doesn't mean they don't know how to do lyrical or ballads, but in my opinion, they shine their brightest when they bring the high energy to the ice. This is obviously a very different strategy and style from Chock and Bates, but that is why I like this rivalry, particularly because it shows you two completely different sides of ice dance. Do I genuinely think that Fear and Gibson can take the gold from Chock and Bates? I myself am not convinced of that yet, but if that were to happen, would I be surprised? Would I be sad? I don't know. In ice dance, I just love the drama and I'm here for it. The third team fighting for gold are the Canadians Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier, who won silver at the 2025 World Championships. They are a strong team who I must admit I don't know too much about, but what I do know is that they have been slowly appearing more consistently on the podium at each competition, and they are a real possibility for medalists at this 2026 Olympics. Finally, we have the pairs. I'm going to be honest. This is the discipline which I follow the least. Therefore, what I'm looking forward to most is seeing all the new faces that will podium now that the Russians are limited to only one team. This discipline is the one that has been the most dominated by a single country, with the Russians having a strong hold on this discipline since the early 2000s, the most notable exception being the 2018 Olympics. So what I'm looking forward to most in pairs is not any individual pair taking the gold, but rather seeing all the fresh new faces who will now be showcased on a global stage. So there you have it. Before you place your bets or just your dreams on a single skater, remember that we are still more than 100 days away from the Winter Games, and truly anything can happen. The Olympic season is always one of the most unpredictable and dramatic seasons for a reason. And with this Olympics potentially marking the end of an era for Team Tutberidze and so many new countries being potentially showcased on a podium, it is shaping up to be an Olympic moment like no other. Now let's hope this doesn't include another moment of unprecedented drama, but just unbelievable competition. However, if history tells us anything, is that the most unexpected is usually where the magic happens.